At that exact moment, when her fingers brushed the rim of my glass, a chill ran down my spine, and I knew instinctively that something was wrong. I didn't even need to see her face to feel the intention. The subtle shift in the way she leaned toward me, smiling just enough to mask it. I set my glass down and, almost without thinking, lifted the one beside hers, letting it slide into my hand instead. She froze for just a fraction of a second, then laughed a little too bright, a little too sharp, like a bird startled but trying to convince itself it wasn't. I swallowed hard, but not the drink. I swallowed the unease twisting in my chest. We were at a grand hotel gala in New York City, one of those elite soirees with crystal chandeliers hanging from the ceiling and soft jazz playing in the background. The air was thick with quiet conversations, each word wrapped in careful poise. My wife, Charlotte, moved through the crowd like she owned the room. Effortless, charming, radiant, and I loved her for it, always had. But now, standing there with the switched glass in my hand, watching her eyes flicker like she was caught, I felt a crack in everything I thought I knew. She sat down next to me, sliding her hand over mine, still smiling, still warm, still Charlotte. "You okay?" she asked softly, the way she always knew to say it. But I could feel it under her words, the tremor of guilt she tried to bury. My pulse pounded in my ears. I wanted to speak, to confront her, but the words lodged in my throat. I just nodded, lifted my glass, and took a sip. Safe, untainted, ordinary. The night went on. Music, laughter, casual conversations with people I barely knew. And all the while, I watched her. I watched the way she brushed her hair back from her face, the way she laughed a little too long at someone else's joke, the way she kept glancing at me, trying to read me, trying to see if I had noticed. The betrayal didn't feel like a dramatic act. It was intimate, almost tender in its subtlety. And that made it hurt worse. I had loved this woman with every fiber of me, trusted her with the deepest, quietest parts of my soul. And she had what? Tried to slip something into my drink like it was nothing, like it was a secret game, and I was supposed to drink it blindly? After the gala, I couldn't sleep. I couldn't shake the image of her hand hovering near my glass, the faint, imperceptible pause before she pulled away. I thought about it over and over, turning it in my mind, trying to understand. Did she think I wouldn't notice? Did she think I would forgive it because I loved her too much? The complexity of it struck me. Charlotte wasn't cruel. Not in the way I imagine cheaters often are. She was human, messy, frightened. And that was almost worse than hatred. It was reality, a messy, incomprehensible truth that love alone couldn't erase. I started watching her more closely in the days that followed. Every movement, every expression, every phone call she took in hushed tones, every smile that didn't reach her eyes, everything became a piece of a puzzle I was suddenly desperate to solve. And then it hit me. The way she hesitated before answering, the way she avoided my gaze at times when she thought I wasn't looking. She had been hiding something. Yes. But it wasn't easy. It wasn't straightforward. It wasn't black and white. She was a person with needs and fears and desires that collided with our life together in a way I hadn't understood. And that collision had manifested in something terrifying and intimate: the betrayal of trust.
I confronted her quietly one night. The apartment was dimly lit, the Manhattan skyline outside alive with indifferent lights. I could feel the tension in the air like static. "Charlotte," I said, my voice low but steady, "I need to know why you put your hand in my glass that night." She didn't flinch. She didn't look away. She just sighed. A long, shuddering exhale. And finally she spoke. "I don't even know how to say it," she admitted. "I wasn't thinking clearly. I wanted to feel something different. I didn't want to hurt you. Not really. I made a mistake. God, I was stupid, selfish, terrified, and I hate myself for it." I listened, and in the listening, I felt the splintering of my heart. Her words didn't excuse what she had done. They made it worse, because they were honest, human, raw, unpolished. And they made me realize that love alone couldn't protect me from the choices people make, even the people you trust most. I wanted to rage, to yell, to leave everything behind. But the words didn't come. There was only silence, and in that silence, a kind of painful clarity. Over the next few weeks, everything changed. I couldn't see her the same way. Every glance, every smile, every touch was filtered through the memory of that hand, hovering, poised, almost tender in its deceit. I loved her. I always would. But love was no longer enough to keep my trust intact. She, too, felt the weight of it, and in some ways it made her more human, more vulnerable, more heartbreakingly real. We talked. We argued. We didn't break up, not immediately, because the fabric of years together doesn't unravel so easily. But something had shifted irreversibly, something fundamental that couldn't be put back, no matter how many apologies, no matter how many tears.
And then one morning, I woke up lying beside her, feeling her warmth next to me, and I realized that I had changed too. I wasn't angry anymore, not in the way I thought I would be, but cautious, wary, protective of myself in ways I hadn't imagined. I had learned a truth about people I had loved and trusted with all my heart. They're capable of mistakes, of selfishness, of acts that can fracture your world in an instant, and you have to decide whether to stay in the fractured space or walk away entirely. Charlotte never tried to justify herself beyond admitting the human failure. She didn't ask for forgiveness with the expectation of immediate absolution. She simply acknowledged it. And in that acknowledgement, I saw the woman I had loved and the woman I could no longer fully trust. And I realized painfully that the love I felt didn't erase the betrayal. It simply coexisted with it, a complicated, bitter, beautiful truth that would follow us forever. I still see her sometimes, laughing, radiant, moving through the world as if it had never happened. And part of me wants to go back to those days before the glass, before the hovering hand, before the fracture. But I can't, because I know now that love is not always enough, that trust, once bent, never quite returns to its original shape. And I carry that lesson raw and unrelenting, like a scar that no one else can see but me. The final truth, the one I whisper to myself in quiet moments, is this: the heart can forgive, the mind can understand, but some betrayals remain untouched by either.
If you've ever been betrayed or faced heartbreak, you're not alone. Subscribe to Cheating Secrets for real stories of love, betrayal, and resilience. Don't forget to click the notification bell so you never miss a story that could change the way you see relationships.